Welcome to the United Stand and welcome to Dave Kennedy, the latest member of the United Stand Club Members Club, straight up in there. So we're going to be talking about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's challenge now to replace Paul Pogba. And I tell you what, I think we've got 6 or 7 players that are going to be going along my side, changing every 20 seconds or so. So keep your eyes on those. Those are candidates, and there may well be more that you want to talk about. But let me just start off by saying there should be no illusions or no painting a picture different than the fact. You should go and watch what Paul Pogba said. There's no misinterpretation. There's no, I've been misquoted. He said, I want a new challenge. I want a new challenge twice, more or less. He says it twice. That means he's looking for a new challenge. So, he wants to leave Manchester United. And I think it's a gamble by Paul Pogba, but I think it's a gamble he has to make. He has to go public. Manchester United, as I've said, their official line has always been that Paul Pogba's not for sale. They don't want to sell Paul Pogba, and we're hearing more about that today after what Pogba said, which we'll discuss in a moment. So Pogba is not going to get a move out of Manchester United if he sits back and hopes, because they're just going to go, no Real Madrid, no Juventus. This is how you do it. Raiola probably has told him how to do it. Real Madrid have probably told him to do it. You've got to be public. You've got to undermine the club. You've got to go and say you want to move from Manchester United. And he's done that, and it's a gamble, and it's a very big gamble, but it puts it into Manchester United's court, because if after the video we did this morning where we're saying Pogba said what he said, Manchester United have obviously put stuff out through different outlets, some credible, all of them saying Manchester United's official line is that Pogba's not for sale and they expect him to be a player at United next season. Now that angers me, but also I can see that actually they've got to say that to keep the price up. They've got to drive a hard bargain, because they cannot keep Paul Pogba. Well, they can. United can do anything. I mean, we're waiting for transfers and they're tweeting out about bloody Remington shavers today, which are very good shavers if they want to sponsor me. But in seriousness, they'll do whatever they think's best for themselves. They're not going to really think about the fans on this. But you've got Paul Pogba, who last season divided the fan base straight down the middle, 50-50, right? You've now got Paul Pogba, who's come out and publicly said he wants to leave our club. Do you think more people are going to like him or more people are going to dislike him? I think it's going to be more people are going to dislike him. And I remember when Wayne Rooney did the same, and a lot of people didn't like Rooney after that, and they never recovered from that. So, it's only going to damage Paul Pogba more. Paul Pogba's a happy-go-lucky guy. He wants to be liked. If he's publicly saying he wants to leave, he's going to do everything he can to leave. I mean, there's been talk about strikes and stuff like that. I don't think that's going to happen. But what Manchester United do need to do, and what I want to talk about with you lot tonight, is they do need to move quickly, swiftly, and start looking at replacements. Because I personally think if you bury your head in the sand and think we're just going to bury our head in the sand and keep Paul Pogba, he will end up forcing a move. And, he can force a move in August when the transfer window's closed. This is what I urge Manchester United to be very, very careful about. Pogba can go to Juventus or Real Madrid in August, and if he does, we can't replace him because our transfer window closes at the start of August. So we've got to be proactive about this. We can't bury our head in the sand, and we've got to get it sorted. So who replaces him? There are players going along the side there. Please do smash a like and get involved in it. But I just want to say, as a fan base, very, very quickly, can I just say this to you lot as well? Stop getting angry. Stop getting angry about it. So many people are getting angry about this. Like the pro Pogba people are arguing with the people who are saying, actually, I do think that Pogba should go. And the point I want to say here is, look, if you like Pogba and you're devastated by the fact that he's leaving, that is absolutely fine because that is your opinion. If you are somebody who is wants Pogba to go, that's absolutely fine because that's your opinion. But can I just remind you of something here? People are talking like United are selling Pogba. They're going, I can't believe we're forcing Pogba out. I can't believe Pogba's being sold. We're going to be shit next season. I can't believe it. Did you not hear what happened? Paul Pogba said he wanted to leave Manchester United. Paul Pogba wanted to leave Manchester United at the start of last season. His fallout with Jose Mourinho was so significant he wanted to go. United wouldn't let it happen. They got rid of Mourinho instead. Pogba wants to go. He's not being forced out. He wants to go because he wants to go and win trophies elsewhere. Welcome to Matthias Borgil. I'm just worried that United fans are falling out with themselves about Pogba. I couldn't move on my timeline on Twitter today for people quoting Pogba's got the most assists and goals last season in Europe. Oh, Pogba's done this. Pogba's scored more goals than he's ever scored. And I'm like, right, okay, what's your point? He wants to leave. We're not selling him. It's not like we're going, get out of our club, Pogba. Don't care the fact that you were the top scorer in Europe. We want to keep him. Manchester United want to keep him. He wants to go. So tweeting about his bloody stats, what's your point? We get it. You love Pogba. He wants to go. Go and buy a Real Madrid shirt with the Hazard fans because he wants to go. I am interested in the Manchester United badge. And if he wants to leave that badge, it's sad, but I'm going to move on with the badge and he can go and play for Real Madrid. I'm not really going to spend any time about it. But it is funny, the anger that's going on about there with Paul Pogba fans going, oh, look at his stats. He's a great player. As for him being a big loss, well, is he a big loss? Really? Is he a big loss? We were talking about this last season. You speak to United fans who've been going to United in the 60s, 70s and 80s. I mean, I was too young for that. I mean, I feel quite old these days, but I was too young to be supporting United in any of those decades, really. And they will tell you this is the worst set of players they've ever had. Even people who can remember the team that got relegated said that team had better players and gave more to the badge than this lot. So, and that includes Pogba in that squad. It's not individually having a go at Pogba, but the squad collectively is considered to be certainly the worst United squad I've had the misfortune of watching. I think in my lifetime, they are terrible for many reasons. Their effort levels, their ability, they're rubbish. They're absolutely rubbish. But it goes longer than that. It goes back to the 70s as well, which obviously I can't verify, but a lot of fans are saying that. So, you know, obviously losing Pogba, he is one of the better midfielders in European football, but losing him from what? We're losing him from a team that's the worst United team in decades. So, you know, he is a loss, but it's not like we're Premier League champions and we're losing this fundamental player to our team. He's important, but he's important in a team that's shit. So, you know, even if we kept Pogba and we didn't buy anybody, we'd still be that team from last season. And I think if Pogba goes and we build in the right way, yeah, we're losing a good player, but we can rebuild a team. And I think that's the most important thing. Welcome to Matthias Borgil and Idled Blue Eyes and Jeff Sterling, latest members of the United Stand Members Club. Late Bridge, says Ruta. Someone tell him to refresh his thing. We've been live for about 5 minutes. Pogba was treated like crap, so don't blame him for leaving, says Ghost. What? Where? I love this. What are you on about? Like, what history are you trying to rewrite here? Pogba was treated like crap. When? When's he been treated like crap? When in the last 3 years has he been treated like crap? Oh, the fan who shouted at him at the end of the season. Well, you know, footballers need to get their head round that not everybody lives up their backside. But actually, in the main, Paul Pogba's been treated very, very well at Manchester United Football Club. Some would say too well. You know, some would say Mourinho was forced out of the club to keep Pogba out of the club. I don't know about that, but I don't think any player at Manchester United's been treated particularly badly and forced out of the club. I think people just need to grow up, as I said at the end of the season, and say, look, I agree with Pogba going, and I agree with United letting him go. The marriage doesn't work. It's a divorce. It's not about aggression. It's not about hate. He wants to go at 26. He's won a World Cup and, you know, maybe win a Champions League, win a league in Spain. He's not going to do that in United, is he? He's not going to win a Premier League and he's not going to win the Champions League at United in the next 2 to 3 years. So I understand why he wants to go. It's logical. People just need to be logical about it. Mark, have you got anything new on Bruno Fernandes becoming less confident with this deal, says Mickey Dripper 93. Well, look, let's talk about some of these options in the midfield. For me, and I want to get into the comments here, like, genuinely do want to get into the live comments a lot. Welcome to Scrambled Hamster 45, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. And how was the game today? Was going to come but forgot, says Joe Dunn. It got cancelled. The United Stand FC game got cancelled today because there were travellers on the car park, so we couldn't get there to play the game, so it got called off. Liverpool got stronger after with Coutinho money, says Manchester United Business Club, and I think that is important. Look, can I just say one thing before we move on this? Two things really. We're going to talk about how United deal with the blow of losing Pogba, because it is a blow. You know, some people aren't bothered about it, but in the main, it is a blow to lose a good player. I agree with that. So how do we, I don't know. I don't really know what some fans are doing, like especially the Pogba fans. Like, it's like, oh, it's the worst thing ever. What are we going to do? I won't sleep tonight. It's a problem. It's a problem to be solved. And there are options out there to solve it. It's not like there's no other footballers out there and we've got to play bloody McTominay as our attacking midfielder. And he might do quite well, to be fair, but there are options out there, so we'll talk about that. But what I want to say is, let me throw this situation at you, because if this is about, what if Pogba's saying this because he wants United to offer him the captaincy and 400 grand a week? If that happens and he signs a new contract next week, how do you feel about Paul Pogba? Because I'm going to be really blunt now and say I want him to go. I think as soon as you go public and say I want to leave this football club for a new challenge, I don't care if you're playing for a new contract or not, you're playing with the heartstrings of United fans who absolutely adore this club. And you might be playing a game to get a better contract, but you're upsetting a lot of United fans, and that's my priority. I'm a United fan myself. So I personally think now it's gone past the point of no return for Pogba. United are going to have to sell him and he's going to have to go. And I think he wants to go anyway, but I think now he's gone public, I don't want him to stay. But how would you feel if the first game of the season, Paul Pogba is still a United player? Can you move past this, or do you think it's just point of no return? We need to bring back Fellaini for one of our centre midfielders, says Sean. God, that depresses me more than Pogba going. And Carl Newton says, hi Mark, how reliable is Sergio Mendes on Twitter? Because he's adamant that the deal is done. The fact that I've never heard of him, and the sort of name that is, it sounds a little bit like Diego Martinez. Bullshitter, I would say. I don't know anything. I don't know the Twitter account as well. So to me, that would be, I'm totally saying this without prior knowledge, but the fact that I've never heard of the person, I would say it's a load of crap, because I think like most of you lot, I know most of the credible people. Turbo Rags, thanks for that contribution there. Let's just have a few what people are talking about. Bad feeling Longstaff will be the only new midfielder, says Sean Byrne. If Longstaff's the only new midfielder at United, I'm quite happy to say that we're going to be fighting relegation. But you cannot have a midfield of Longstaff, Matic, Pereira, Fred and McTominay and expect to finish in the top half. You just not. It's not going to happen. So we will sign better than that. I'm 100% confident. So as long as he's wearing a United top, I will support him, says Shat Nawaz Khan. Very, very firm there. I won't accept it if Pogba stays, says Louise O'Donoghue. What do you think of Atletico Madrid joining the race for Bruno Fernandes? If they get him, that's a huge loss, says Ada Ahmed Adib. We'll talk about that in a moment. Purple Patrick says there's a lot of bullshit out there. I don't know what he's talking about in relation to specifics. What we do know is what Paul Pogba has said with his mouth. Pogba will leave and there will be no one to replace him. Manchester United won't sign anyone big this season, says Zoheep Alim. And I think that is something that is a running theme that I've seen today on the social medias, that a lot of people are concerned about the fact that Manchester United didn't really replace Ronaldo. Did we ever really replace Roy Keane? I think people are very concerned, and I can't disagree with it. The evidence is out there. People are very concerned that Manchester United will not actually replace Paul Pogba that well. Well, look, you know what? It wasn't a coincidence that I did a video last night talking about this, talking about why, talking about the fact that Pogba's going to go, because I know a lot of people know that Paul Pogba wants to leave Manchester United, and it's been going around for quite a while now. It was just hoping that wasn't going to be the case, and it's not took him very long to come out publicly and say he wants to go, has it? What I would say is, I think a lot of people have been under the assumption that Pogba would stay this summer and David De Gea will go. I actually think obviously, there's no credibility to say you think Pogba's going to go now, because it's pretty much obvious, isn't it? But I do think De Gea will stay. I think De Gea will stay, because I don't think United can afford to lose De Gea and Pogba this summer, especially with the big rebuild that they've got. So I think that De Gea will stay. Whether that's we're not going to sell him and you can go for free next summer, or whether we stump the money up, I don't think De Gea's going anywhere. So, which is interesting, because a lot of the in the knows were like Pogba's definitely staying and De Gea's going. I think it's going to be the other way around. Orlando Foster, we lost Ronaldo and we continue to win. We will be fine without Pogba. The real concern is, can we get the right players for us to compete for the top four? I like that positivity. And Guitar Pedals says, the main problem I see with Pogba leaving is that it might be more difficult to sign other players since we don't possess a superstar in our squad. But look, we don't possess a superstar manager. We had that with Mourinho, and it didn't do us any favours. We became a very lazy, boring, crap team that nobody was interested in coming to anyway. And also, Pogba is a big player, but I think everybody from Europe can see that Pogba doesn't perform at United. And you could look at it and go, God, look at how badly Pogba performs for United. I don't want to go there. So, look, we've got an inexperienced manager. I think there's a certain type of player we need to bring into this club, and I think that is the sort of inexperienced player who's got the talent to go to the next level. I think that's what a rebuild is all about, as far as I'm concerned. Let's talk about some of the players that we should be looking at Manchester United, because as you can see, Yuri Tillemans, Ndembele's going past. I think Longstaff's there, Rabiot, Bruno Fernandes is up there as well. There's a few others that are going to go past, and I've put the prices and who's interested in their age on there. Atul Pendi says, do you honestly think if we are going to sign any big player? I don't see that. None of the players are even talking about United. Forget about joining. I think the most important thing with Manchester United is that we need to, we've got to have to be patient. We're going to have to be patient. We know that. We're going to be, on paper, we're going to be a worse team next season. But on paper isn't how football's played. Lukaku's probably going to go. Pogba's probably going to go. That makes us worse on paper next season anyway. It does. And maybe Sanchez hopefully will go as well. Herrera's gone. That's a big loss. So we're a worse team on paper next season, even if we make some decent signings, because we're not going to get superstars in. We're not. I don't think we're going to get the superstar. We're not going to get an Mbappe or a Neymar or a Verratti or someone like that. That's not what we're going to do. So on paper, we're going to be a worse team. But if we've got a camaraderie and we've got a hunger and we've got a passion and we've got talent, then I think we'll be a better team than next year. That's the patience that I'm willing to look at. If Paul Pogba was going to stay, we needed to buy another attacking midfielder. We did. Welcome to John Main Prize, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. We needed to buy another midfielder, an attacking midfielder to go with Pogba, because I'm going to say, look, everyone chucks these quotes out about Pogba's stats last year. What I would say is, well, yeah, his stats were very good last year. He got a lot of goals, he got a lot of assists. I mean, a lot of them were penalties, but by the by, facts are facts. He got a lot of goals, he got a lot of assists. He only played for 3 months of the season. The first 3 months he was shit. The last 2 to 3 months he was shit. The middle 3 months he was very good. And we had a lot of easy games then. I mean, people forget that. Ollie's start was very easy. Cardiff, I can't remember who else we played. Was Huddersfield in there? I remember having lost to Liverpool, I didn't think Mourinho was going to get sacked. And I was like, oh, for God's sake, kick him out the club. Oh, but look at the fixtures we've got now. He's probably going to win all those and he's going to stay till the end of the season. That didn't happen. So we had some very winnable games under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I'm not going to say that, oh, that's why we won, because we had some winnable games at the end of the season and we didn't. We were on a very, very good run. The team was confident. We were playing really, really well. And Pogba got a lot of goals then. But where was the first 3 months and where was the last few months from Pogba? They weren't there. So, for all his good stats, he could have had much better stats. And it's that consistency that we need at Manchester United. But on top of that, I do think, in fairness to Pogba, one of the things that always stands out to me is that we didn't really put good players around him. I think he could have performed better. I am a firm believer that, if you're a world-class player, you still perform well. If you put Messi in the MK Dons team, I think he'd struggle maybe to get him promoted on his own, but he'd still stand out as a world-class player. And Pogba too many times didn't stand out as a world-class player against some pretty crap midfields. But on his day, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So I always think United failed because most teams knew, in defence of Pogba, most teams knew if you swamp Pogba, there's no creativity. I mean, even our good midfield three of Matic, Herrera and Pogba in January, if you swamped Pogba, the creativity is not really going to come from Matic and Herrera. And United, if we kept Pogba, desperately needed a right-sided midfielder who's got some creativity in. Maybe a Tielemans, maybe a Bruno Fernandes. That would have made a big difference to have that. So if Pogba goes, and I think he has to go now, it's not one midfielder we need to buy. It's not two midfielders, it's three. We need two attacking midfielders. I don't mean like Isco or João Felix or something like that. No, I'm not talking about number 10s. I'm talking about midfielders who are box-to-box, but also have creativity as part of their game. Somebody like Tielemans is on the screen now. Somebody like a Bruno Fernandes. That is what United need to do, and we need to get two. Because losing Pogba is a big, big loss to United's creative side of the game. Whatever anybody thinks about his consistency, whatever, he is the only real talented creator in the midfield 3 or 4 that we have. So it's not just replace Pogba. I think you need two. You need two creative. I mean, and Dembele's very good at it as well, but you need two. And that's where I think that we need three midfielders now. We need somebody with a little bit more defensive minded, and we need two attacking midfielders, and that's when Pogba goes. So we need three midfielders. We're debating all month to try and get a right back. We need a centre back, and we need a right winger. So we need 6 players at United to come in the next month and a half. And it's a big ask, but the midfield is the most important position, the most important area of any pitch. They call it the engine room. It's the link between the defence and the attack. It's where games are won and lost in the midfield, and we are woefully short there. We've lost Herrera, he needs replacing. I think Fellaini still needs replacing, and Pogba will need replacing. And to be honest with you, you could make an argument that Pogba, is such an important player to the team in the attacking side of things. You need 2 players to replace him because Pogba's off to Real Madrid. It's like when Ronaldo went. You can't just replace Ronaldo with Michael Owen or Antonio Valencia. He's like, you need a certain type of player. Pogba better than Herrera, yet people cried when he left for dollars, says Toby Aladapu. I'm trying to understand what that's all about, but I'm sure it makes sense to you. Cried for dollars. Ander Herrera didn't leave for dollars, though. Show me the evidence that Ander Herrera left for money. It was, as far as I'm concerned, there's 2 very different stories about Ander Herrera. There's the story I don't believe that he turned down 200 grand a week from Manchester United, and then there's another story that Manchester United didn't even offer him a pay rise. So I don't know what the truth is there. It's a shame we lost Ander Herrera. It is a shame, but I think it also shows that Paul Pogba wants to go. Ander Herrera loves the club but decides to go. Maybe the talk about dressing room unrest and all that is maybe this. Maybe the club is in a mess. You lot say it enough. The club's in a mess. Things are only going to get worse. Solskjaer's going to be sacked by Christmas. We're going to be in a mid-table battle. You can't say those things unless you can. But I mean, if you're saying those things, well, why are you surprised when we start losing players and players are walking out the door and the club's in a mess? And you look at that midfield and you think, it terrifies me. It terrifies me. I don't class Pogba as a Manchester United player anymore. I think he's gone. I think he's going to force that move. So I look at our midfield now. It's Matic, who I just genuinely do not rate and is only going to get worse. It's Fred, who I don't think will fulfill his potential for various reasons. It's Andreas Pereira, who I think will not fulfill his potential because he lost a year or 2 under Mourinho. And it's Scott McTominay, who I personally think, at best, he's a bench player. I don't see him. I really hope I'm wrong. But even if he is good, that midfield is bereft of depth and ability. So Bruno Fernandes is on the screen there. He's absolutely essential to Manchester United. And I know people will be like, well, there's other options. But no, the thing about him is he's got goals and assists in him. He is tenacious, he can pass it, and he is exactly what United need. And he's available. There's not many players like him who are midfielders who've got that attacking side to their game that has been consistently good. He is essential. Manchester United have got to get that deal done. He's been a priority. They've scouted him, and they've got to move quick. Because if we miss out on him to Liverpool or Atletico Madrid or Inter, then I'm worried because there's not an abundance of players like that out there. There's another player there I really think, he's proved his Premier League proven over the last 5 months. He's important. James Maddison could be important, but then, and also all of them there's an element of risk with all of them as well. There definitely is. And I do wonder as well, whether United will now start to think about Gareth Bale a little bit more. Because if you lose Pogba, do you need a shirt seller? Do you need a big name? I personally don't think that you do. You look at teams like Leicester when they won the title, that if you can build a team that's talented and is all singing off the same hymn sheet and is working hard for each other, why do you need a superstar? You don't. I don't think we need to go down that route. I would rather we didn't get Gareth Bale. I personally, I've said it a few times now, I think Jadon Sancho is the player that United need to go for. I do. I think, you're going to get a lot of money for Paul Pogba. Go and test Dortmund. Let's not be respectful. Let's not be, we are only in the Emmerdale Cup. Go and get him. Be aggressive and go and get him. Because I tell you what, if Pogba leaves and we get Bruno Fernandes, Yuri Tillemans and Rabiot in the midfield, and then we get Jadon Sancho at right wing, I'm sorry, I don't really have any issue with Paul Pogba, but I think Fernandes, Rabiot, Tillemans and Sancho and Pogba leaves, I'll take that. I would take that. And it's very difficult with United's previous history over the last 6 years. It's very difficult when you look at what happened with Ronaldo as well. It's very difficult to trust United to get this right. But you know as well as I do that Pogba leaving, whilst it's not ideal, you could flip it very easily into something positive. You could get 3 players in the midfield that give us more depth and ability than we had with just Pogba, because it was just Pogba in that midfield, and get a top world-class right midfielder as well, right winger. So it can be done. Madrid equals 16 Insta posts on 3 signings. United equals 140 on James, says Ice Wallow Come. Funny name as well. Ice Wallow come. Shivesh Singh says, we haven't even started to unload players off and half of June is done. The board must have surely known Pogba wanted to leave and our recruitment should have been more aggressive. I'm dreading the worst. Look, I can't tell you how to think, but I think positivity will hopefully come back. My only fear with United, and I've said it a long time, well, I've got a few fears, but my biggest fear that I think we're seeing the evidence of is we're painfully slow at transfers. We're so slow, and that is what is worrying me a lot, because I think if we are after Wan-Bissaka, he was always going on the under-21s. If we are after Wan-Bissaka, why are we haggling with Crystal Palace? Because we've left it late and we're slow. And if we're after Bruno Fernandes, we're leaving it late and we're doing it slow. Who's the centre-back? Who is it? Who's the right winger? Who's the other midfielder? Who's the other midfielder when Pogba goes? Slow. We're slow, we're acting slow, and we've got loads of business to do. And the defenders of that are saying, well, it's only the middle of June, there's ages to go, but we're going on tour in 3 weeks. We are playing against Chelsea in about 6 or 7 weeks. The transfer window is only about a month and a half left, and we've got to bring in, if Pogba goes, 6 players, and we've also got to probably sell 3 or 4 or 5 players, and we've signed 1 player. The speed of how United do things worry me. And I'll tell you what worries me even more. My feeling is, if we insist that Pogba stays, we're finished as a football club. Because that shows me that how small-minded our football club has become. Our great football club. If a player wants to leave, and they publicly say they want to leave, there's the door, get out. I don't care who you are. You can be my favourite player. And I like Pogba. He's not my favourite player, but I do like Pogba. But the second you publicly say you're looking for a new challenge, you want to move, whatever the words are, they all mean the same, you're gone. You're gone. Absolutely gone. But when United say he's not for sale, doesn't matter what he says, that makes us look small. I remember years ago, Stan Collymore doing it to go from Forest to Liverpool. I remember there's loads of players that have done it over the years, and it didn't used to happen that much, but it does. People will do it, and you're a small-minded club if you try and keep them, because ultimately there's only ever going to be one winner. It's going to be the player, and you've got to be the bigger person and go, fine, look, you're not going for any less than this price. But I agree, you're going. The minute you are not committed to this football club is the minute you've got to go. And that will hurt the people who love Pogba, but at the end of the day, what's more important to you? Manchester United Football Club? Forget the Glazers, forget Woodward, forget Solskjaer, forget the current squad. They're all open to criticism in different levels, I agree with that. That's not what we're talking about. Oh, I stick up for Pogba over the Glazers or Woodward. No, that's not an argument. The real argument is this. What's more important to you, Paul Pogba or the Manchester United Football Club that you support? Forget who owns it. Remember the badge. Remember why you support us. Who's more important, Paul Pogba or the club that you support? And for me, every single time it's the club. And when I think about the club, I'm not thinking about the manager. I'm not thinking about the squad. I'm not thinking about the owners. I'm thinking about why I support Manchester United and why I love this football club. And every single day, the club is more important than the player who says they want to go. I can like that player, but it's over. You've got to go. And he's got to go. And Manchester United Football Club is not the Glazers and it's not Ed Woodward. They are just custodians running our club at the moment. And if they think it's a wise move to try and to force a player to stay who doesn't want to be here, you're wrong. You've got to let him go. You've got to let him go. Because if we're a banter club now, we're even more banter next year with Paul Pogba and all our rivals going, you've had to force him to stay and he doesn't want to be there. It just makes us look weak, in my opinion. Anti-Panty says, Manchester United's executive vice chairman, Ed Woodward, is prepared to match Leicester's valuation of Harry Maguire, reports The Sun. I've read that one. In relation to Harry Maguire, I think I said it to you, did I say it this morning? United's 3 priorities at the moment are Wan-Bissaka, Harry Maguire and Bruno Fernandes. Harry Maguire is a high priority for Manchester United, and that's a fact. They want to sign Harry Maguire. I am quite happy with Harry Maguire. I wanted him last summer, and I'm quite happy if we sign him now. That's my position on it. And I tell you what, I'm happy to say that, because as I've always said with the United stand, my opinion is not, it's my opinion. Your opinion is your opinion. We're just here on a United fan channel talking things through. I don't really care if you want Harry Maguire or not. I don't care if you think he's crap or not. I personally am happy with that signing if it happens, and he is a priority for Manchester United. I think we wanted Koulibaly. He ain't going to be sold. You can't do anything about it. If a club doesn't want to sell, what are you supposed to do? You know, I've said it before. You know, sometimes you miss the boat. Some things are unattainable in life. You cannot get them. I don't think we can get Koulibaly. I think we wanted him. And as for De Ligt, I think De Ligt's just after money, and I think it's really sad, and I think United should avoid that. I don't want to pay De Ligt £350,000 a week because it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And we're hypocrites if we say, oh yeah, pay £350,000 for a Dutch 19-year-old, and then we moan about Alexis Sanchez getting 400 grand a week. It's hypocritical because neither of them should be on any of that money at all. Lozano isn't in the Mexico squad, says Mohamed Face, because he's injured. He's injured, mate. He had to withdraw with injury. Thanks for the contribution, Sully Aziz. He says, honest opinion, Mark, how many players are we going to sign? I've always been consistent with this. I said to you last week that people are putting bullshit rumours out that we're only going to sign 1 or 2 more players. We'll sign 4 at least. I think we need to sign 6 now. If Pogba goes, it's 6. If De Gea goes, it's 7. It's as simple as that. The club have got a massive, massive task ahead of them. I relate and understand frustration because that's human nature. We get impatient, we get frustrated, we get concerned. All we're hearing about at the moment is a championship player who nobody'd heard about 3 months ago signing for us, and then we're losing 2 significant players in the squad. Now, obviously people will think about different levels of significance there of Lukaku and Pogba, but that's the big news from United so far. Pogba and Lukaku, they're big names in that team. It's a bad team, but they're big names in that team, and those two are forcing, Lukaku publicly wants out of United. Pogba publicly wants out of United. They're facts. So that's all we've got at the moment, and we know we need to do 6 deals. So of course you're going to be patient. You're not going to be patient. Of course you're going to be frustrated. There's nothing wrong with that. It's human nature. You love this club, but I must admit, I keep trying to tell myself, August. Judge this transfer window in August, because judging it now, there is still time. But as I said, my concerns are, we're so slow, and we might run out of time. And that does concern me. Please do smash a like on the video, everyone, by the way. We've been hitting 2,000 likes when we're live, which is amazing. So many people getting involved, so much passion, so many different opinions. Look, I'm fully aware that people are really upset about the Pogba thing. I'm fully aware that Pogba's got a very big following in the Manchester United fan base who just can see him do no wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. I like Martial, although I did say he was crap at the end of the season, to be fair. I'm not totally blinkered, but that's just the way it is. It's different opinions. But what I would say is you don't need to fall out about Pogba. I've seen people, United fans, falling out about Paul Pogba all day, and I don't really get it. The pro Pogba people are saying, look at his stats, this, that and the other. The anti-Pogba people are saying he's lazy, he's inconsistent, he doesn't care about this club. You're both wrong. Because why are you even arguing? Paul Pogba wants to leave. We're not selling him. So it's not a debate about whether he's good or bad. He is a good player. But he wants to go. So arguing about, oh, he's good. Oh, he's bad. Oh, he's inconsistent. Oh, he's got the best stats. So what? He wants to leave our club. That should unite you lot together. Because you're meant to be United fans. He wants to leave our club. You're United fans. Don't argue with each other. Look at what we do in the future. Look at the options that are going past me. Both Mourinho, Pogba stupidity is over. Time to move on, says Ian Singh. I'm going to come back to that. I like that. Thoughts on Everton from Gramillo flirting with a move to United, says Chloe Jenkins. Yeah, I saw this. So Everton's the player, isn't he, who he plays for Brazil. And basically, I think he's looking for a move, and he quoted Manchester United. I just think I really do think, Chloe, it's just chucking our name in to try and get a move. I don't think there'll be anything in that with United, to be honest with you. But the Mourinho thing was interesting there because, again, I just think we're so flip-flop in football as fans now. And I include myself in that. I think we all are flip-flop because football is a little bit like that. But this one absolutely amazes me. So I've seen a lot of people today, so Mourinho was right all along. Pogba's a virus. And I'm like, right. Where's this argument then? So what are we actually saying now? We're forgiving Mourinho because Pogba wants to leave United. I mean, it's not like some Ron Atkinson's era, which nobody can probably remember. This is like less than 7 months ago. Mourinho was our manager. And you're now saying because Pogba wants to leave United, Mourinho was the victim. Can you remember West Ham when we played a back five with McTominay? Can you remember the stats over the 3 years that we were nearly bottom of the league for distance covered because we were a lazy park the bus team? Can you remember how boring we were? Can you remember how arrogant he was? Can you remember Sevilla over both legs in the Champions League? I mean, like, Mourinho got sacked because he was a bad manager. And the same thing happened to him at Chelsea. He's got a great Wikipedia page, but he was a bad manager who belongs in the past, in a time where you could basically dictate to your players and just, everyone would just bow down to you. It's a different world. He's a bad manager. Of course he's going to get some observations right, but whatever he said about Pogba doesn't mean that Mourinho shouldn't have been sacked. He was a bad manager for Manchester United, and I'm very happy he got sacked. So what's the relevance of talking about Mourinho and Pogba? Because Roy Keane said that Pogba's has no loyalty and is a bad influence at Manchester United. I don't really think it's relevant. As I said before, it'd be very easy for me to say Pogba's a virus. It's been proven. I don't think that's where we're at with this. I don't think we even need to get that nasty. I think the point is, and I said it at the end of the season, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It hasn't worked. We signed Pogba 3 years ago. Most of us were ecstatic. It's just not worked for many different reasons. And I think Pogba's got a bit of the blame. I think United have got some of the blame. But at the end of the day, we don't need to play the blame game. Pogba's right to want to go off and have the last few years of his career winning trophies. That's what he wants to do. And at United, there's no guarantee of that. And United are right to go, well, actually, with Pogba, we've not been that consistent. So we probably need to rebuild our midfield. I totally agree with both parties. What I fear is that we're going to get swamped in slowness and we don't want to sell and I want to go and it's just going to get all messy, when really the logical grown-up approach for everybody is to go, Pogba's right to want to go at the end of the day. Let's be fair, he's right to want to go. And United should also be right to let him go, get a good fee and rebuild. It's the logical thing. We all want to rebuild. And we all really know that Pogba was going to go next summer, if not this summer anyway. So let's just get it done. Let's just get it done and move on. Move on. This team needs players who will bleed for their shirt. Playing for United is more than a job. Well, Jens K1102, you're right, and we do need to get that back, I agree. Ian Singh, I'm not backing Mourinho, but Pogba was rebelling as if he cares about the club and is here to stay, but he made stupid Mourinho look right, sadly. Well, look, what I would say is Paul Pogba, when he came back to Manchester United, the quotes are out there about coming home, loving the club, this, that and the other, and 3 years later he's gone. But also, if you go back to the videos when Paul Pogba signed, I said it at the time, and I wasn't aggressive or angry about it. I said, I don't see Pogba staying here for the rest of his career. I think it's a 3-year thing. I think we've got Pogba for 3-4 years and then he'll go to Spain. I think that's what Raiola sold him. I think Raiola was like, I think he wanted to go to Juventus 3 years ago. And Raiola was like, the better financial package is United. You go there, you earn the money, you do well, you enhance your career, and then you go to Real Madrid for your late 20s. So I always felt that was going to happen. Jose is a bad manager and Ed is a bank manager, says Twally18. What about Lingard, Rashford, Martial, Sanchez? How long will we excuse them, says Webman. But I don't think... Look, I know where you're going at this. Pogba gets all the criticism. Pogba's come out this morning and said he wants to leave our club. That's what we're reacting to. We can do it in a very grown-up way. I don't think you need to be... I don't think there's any coming back from it. I don't want him to stay anymore. He can go, but I ain't going to be, oh, he's a virus, he's shit, this, that and the other. There's no need. I respect the fact that he's come out and said he wants to go because it's the only way he can get out of the club because the club don't want to sell him. He said he wants to go. You've got to react to that. You don't need to start going, oh, Pogba's this, Pogba's that. I know what you're saying. You're saying, well, Pogba gets unfair criticism, but that's irrelevant to what he's done today. We're reacting to what he said today. If you're talking about the team from last year, Pogba is probably less culpable. If you're talking about blame in the United team, Ashley Young, probably the worst player in the squad. Phil Jones, crap. Matic, awful. Lingard was awful as well. Rashford was awful. Martial was awful. I think Pogba was better than all of those. So look, but this is the worst United squad I've seen in my life. And as I said, people who are older than me have said the same. And they've been watching United in the 80s and 70s when we weren't winning titles. So this is the worst set of players we've got. And we finished 6th because that's where we deserve to finish. And we're in the Emmerdale Cup because that's where we deserve to be. And we shouldn't be blinded by Pogba leaving as if it's like this big loss, because the team is terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Even with Pogba in it, it's terrible. We need to rebuild. And there could be a real positive out of this. it's not great losing a player like Pogba, but actually it could be a massive kick up the backside, because you lose Pogba, you're not just losing a player, you're using a massive marketing tool, and that will scare United. And it might scare them into action. It might scare them into going and getting a Jadon Sancho. And that could be a positive. Because Pogba's gone next summer anyway. And I'm a firm believer that he should go this year. Because if you're going in a year, what's the point anyway? Should have sold Paul Pogba at the end of season. Would have sent clear message to the squad. Now selling from a weak negotiating position and empowers other players to be the same. Well, they've got to get this Pogba deal done quickly. Or they've got to work on the assumption that he's going and get the players in before he's gone. Rashford wants 300k reported by The Sun. If it's factual, what's your opinion? Says Suleiman Sabali. I just don't think it can be true. 300k a week. I mean, it just makes him come across as an absolute knobhead, doesn't it? It can't be true. Yeah, it just can't be true. Beans. Glazers will get Bale for the short shirt sale, says David. I am worried about that, and I hope it doesn't happen. Webman just said, because I think Pogba with better players would be good for us. Hey, look, when Pogba goes to Real Madrid, he's going to be fantastic. I've got no reservations about that. But I also think that's a flawed argument as well. And again, I would go back to all those United fans in a year's time if Pogba wins the Champions League and they're going, haha, look at him now. What's more important to you, Paul Pogba or Manchester United? Because if it's Pogba, go and get a Real Madrid shirt. That's what you should do. I'm not even being petty. Manchester United should be what you're all about. That should be your focal point. He wants to leave. At Real Madrid, he'll probably win Champions Leagues and La Ligas. He's going to be playing with a lot better players. Maybe United should have done that themselves, but we've got owners who don't like to spend a lot of money. So it is what it is. Pogba will be a better player in that league because the league's not as competitive and he'll have a lot better players around him. Stat padding, that's what happens when you go through. Eden Hazard's going to be absolutely amazing for Real Madrid because it's a worse league than the Premier League, surrounded by better players in his 11. So, he's going to do very, very well. Very, very well. But I always think that's a really silly argument. Oh, look at what Pogba's doing at Real Madrid. What? In an easier league with loads of better players around him? Of course he's going to do better because he's a good player. I don't really see how that serves a purpose or a debate point with us, if you know what I mean. United are not interested in Bale because he's injured most of the time, says Troy. Let's hope so. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did say deep das. I remember that. I remember doing the press conference. I remember him saying that he sees Paul Pogba at Manchester United next season. And it worries me. That worries me because the way it works in football, right, is Paul Pogba is in Tokyo, I think. He's come out and said publicly that he wants a new challenge. He wants to move. Manchester United Football Club and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer today will be gutted. They'll be like, he has absolutely undermined us. He's done something there that makes us look silly, weakens our position, and really screws up what we do next season. If we force him to stay, we're keeping a player that doesn't want to be here and the world knows it. If we're looking to sell, are we going to lose a bit of bartering power? It's a very difficult situation, and United clearly wanted him to stay, and that's why Solskjaer said it, and that's why United have always said he's not for sale. You wonder if, we've not even talked about this. So reluctant am I to actually turn it into a Pogba hate thing. I don't want that to happen. I think it's logical, like I say. He wants to go. It makes sense. We should want to rebuild. But you wonder if Pogba's had a chat with Solskjaer and the board and said, I want to go privately. If he's done that privately and they've said no, then he's got a right to gamble and go public. But if he's gone public without even speaking to the club, that is really disrespectful. Because he could have said to Ollie or Woodward, I want to go to Real Madrid. I'm not going to go public. I want to go to Real Madrid. Obviously, I can go public, but I want to go to Real Madrid. What's your answer? And United go, well, we're keeping you. You've got 3 years. And he goes, well, look, I'm going to go public then because I want to force this move. In that case, there's no problem. But if he's not said to United, I want to go, and he's just said, he's not told them he wants to go, and then he's put it out publicly, then that is disrespectful and it causes United a problem. United, the ball's in United's court now. The ball is in United's court on how they handle it. But if I was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, which is why I said this morning, if he needs any advice, speak to Sir Alex, because Sir Alex would say, get rid of him. No one's bigger than the club. That's always been Sir Alex Ferguson's line. No one's bigger than the club, get rid of him. And I think United need to do that. And to be honest with you, you can take it one of two ways. This stance from United post the comments, oh, he's not going anywhere. Well, that could be because they want to, in some ways, it could be a great situation. Juventus want him, Real Madrid want him. You've got two big clubs, want a player. They've got two big clubs with good squads. You've got two big clubs who, if they're going up against each other, it's a bidding war. So United sit in the middle and go, he's not for sale. That's a strong position. But it could be they're saying he's not for sale because they think they're going to bloody keep him, which is a weak thing to do with a player that wants to go. It's going to be interesting. For me, just very, very quickly, if you're looking at players from Juventus or Real Madrid, I looked at it today. I don't know what you lot think. From Juventus, Cancelo's an option if we don't get Wan-Bissaka as a right back. Douglas Costa as a right winger is good but inconsistent, and he's 28, so that worries me. I don't really want him as the right winger, if I'm honest with you. Dybala again. I don't want Dybala, if I'm honest with you. He's inconsistent. So yeah, Juventus. There are players, but there's players that they won't get rid of. I like Bernardeschi. They won't get rid of him. So it's Cancelo really and money. And from Real Madrid, Isco, potentially I would take him, although I think he's 27, so yeah, I would take Isco. A lot of people saying Toni Kroos. Do you not realise he signed a 4-year contract last month? Like we're not getting Toni Kroos. I do like Casemiro, but I don't think they would let him go. Yeah, so there's not, even though Juventus and Real Madrid are two of the best teams in Europe, there's not actually that many players that I think they would let go. Ronaldo would be great. Yeah, Ronaldo would be great from Juventus. Somehow I don't think that would happen. Anyway, really enjoyed the show tonight. Hopefully we're getting back on a calmer stance than we were this morning. Realistically, you don't need to fall out with each other, whether you love Pogba or not. He wants to go. No one's selling him. He wants to go. So, don't fall out with each other. United should be the most important thing to you. Smash a like on the video, everyone. Let's see if we can get a couple of thousand likes before we go off air. And please do subscribe to the channel. Bottom right-hand corner, get your subscriptions on. Make sure you got your notifications on. 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. It's Monday, so we're back with Transfer Daily, 7 a.m. UK time. And obviously, if anything happens big, we'll go live like we did with Pogba at 11 o'clock this morning. So make sure that you are subscribed. Dazza W says, new signing and good season. Pogba will be forgot. It can be done. It can be done. We're in the world of the unknown with Woodward and the board. I agree with you, but they could. You never know. Stranger things have happened. They could get it right. Snake Eyes 1994. Did you like Lingard's Beans song? Oh, somebody has to ask. Look, you know what? Lingard's Beans song made me throw up. It did. It absolutely. Beyond cringe. But I'm a certain age. Some people probably liked it. At the end of the day, if he performs on the pitch, that stuff's irrelevant. The problem at the moment is they've been so bad on the pitch, when they put those videos out, it irritates you. That's just human nature. And as for those people who say, oh, they're on holiday, they're having a good time. Yeah, they are. That's their time. But when they put it on Instagram and put it out publicly, I've got a right to have an opinion on it because they put it out publicly. Like the same, you've got an opinion on this show tonight. That's just the way it is. If you decide to put something out publicly, you can't moan if people don't like it. So I didn't like it. I thought it was very cringy. But to be honest with you, if next season they play brilliant, the pair of them, I don't care what they do in their own time. They can dress up like Goldie looking Jane and start rapping. I ain't bothered. It's what they do on the pitch. And I'll always say that. Thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like and I will see you tomorrow at 7 a.m. unless anything happens before. Speak to you soon.